Welcome to video 1-4, and for tomorrow we're going to be looking at what's called the midpoint. So let me first give you the definition. So the midpoint of a segment is the point, and I'll upload this key to Canvas, so feel free just to watch for now, is the point equidistant from both endpoints. And I'll provide a diagram to kind of explain. So let's say you're given a segment. We'll use my initials, so D and I. So the midpoint is going to be the point that's precisely in the center. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it for right now. And then what you'll see a lot of is that we use tick marks to show congruent lengths or distances. So it's called midpoint B. So like for example, if this was 2 inches, then the distance from B to I would also have to be 2 inches. So again, mathematicians love to abbreviate. Technically, point B is called middle point, but the mathematician said that's too many syllables. Let's just call it midpoint. So midpoint is that point perfectly in the middle, in between two endpoints of a segment. All right, so keeping that in mind, there are two different cases. Let's see, I gotta keep practicing with this. Okay, we'll just leave it there for now. So case one. So let me just give you an example. So find the midpoint. Let's say segment AC, short for accelerated. And I'll have to give you some numbers. So where A, let's make it 2, 5, and C, I'm just making this up right now, let's make it 4, 3. The midpoint formula we're going to use, so capital M, it's going to be x sub 1 plus x sub 2 over 2, comma y sub 1 plus y sub 2 over 2. And this will work for both case 1 and case 2. So again, it doesn't really matter to me which coordinate point you think of as 1 and 2. I'll just call the first one x sub 1 and y sub 1. And then the second coordinate point is x sub 2, y sub 2. So again, I'm really a big fan of the diagrams. It's really helpful. So let's say this is A, negative 2, 5, 4, 3 is C. And we're looking for the midpoint. So let me just pull down that formula. Let's see, maybe I'm better at copy and pasting than copy, pasted. All right. So I'm going to take both x values, so x sub 1 plus x sub 2, and let's just call this point M for midpoint. So M equals negative 2 plus 4, and we're dividing by 2. Think of it like taking the average distance between A and C. And then I'll repeat that process, this time with the y values, so y1 plus y2, so 5 plus 3. You could do 3 plus 5, you'll get the same answer. So that would be negative 2 plus 4, so that's 2 over 2. 5 plus 3 is 8 over 2. So the midpoint would be 1 comma 4. So that's what I call case 1, is that you're given both endpoints, and you're asked to find the midpoint. All right, so what is case 2 then? So let me just move some things around. So case 2 is going to be what I kind of call inside out. So let's say I say given segment TR, where T is given, let's say, -3, 6. So I'm just throwing out these numbers here. And the midpoint of segment TR is 2, 3.5. Determine the coordinates of R. So I kind of call this case 2. I think of it like inside out. So it's going to start very similar to case 1. So we're given segment TR, so those are the two endpoints. And we're given T is -3, 6. And instead of given R, we're actually given the midpoint. Let's call it, how about just Y? So it's a little bit different this time in that you actually have the midpoint. I'm asking you to find what are the coordinates of this endpoint over here. All right, so here's what we know. So the midpoint of segment TR is equal to x sub 1 plus x sub 2 over 2, y sub 1 plus y sub 2 all over 2. Well, what's kind of different this time is that we actually know the midpoint of segment TR. That's given as 2, 3.5. So I'm actually going to make that substitution first. And the challenge is, well, how do we express R? So I'm going to call R, let me move this around just a little bit. Let's call R, how about we call it X and Y. All right, so according to the midpoint formula, I'm going to take x plus x divided by 2. And then the y coordinates, let me use a different color. So 6 plus y. If you wanted to use subscripts, you could. I'll just use x and y to keep things simple. So if we can solve this for x and y, then we'll have the endpoints of, or the coordinates of point R. All right, so I'm going to use a different color now. What I want you to notice is that this is the x value, which corresponds to this part of the equation. So I'm going to set up a proportion. So 2 equals -3 plus x divided by 2. Some students like to put 2 over 1 and you can cross multiply. So 4, 2 times 2 equals, well, 1 times anything is just that thing. And now we're back to Algebra 1. It's a linear equation. There's one variable. So to get x by itself, we'll add it to the other side. So x would be 7. And then I'll repeat that process, but this time for the y values. So this is the y coordinate here, corresponds to this value. So 3.5 equals 6 plus y over 2. I can also just multiply both sides by 2. So we get 7 equals 6 plus y. And then subtracting 6 from both sides, we get y equals 1. So R would have to have the coordinates 7, 1. Remember, you should not have to have any doubt as to whether this is correct or not. You can go back to the midpoint formula now. You can sub in 7 and 1. So I'll just do a quick mental check. So is it true that if I take -3 plus 7, that's 4, and then 4 divided by 2 is 2, so that checks. I'll repeat that process. Is it true that y, 6 plus y, in this case 1, 6 plus 1 is 7, 7 divided by 2 gets me back to 3.5. So we have good confidence that this is our answer. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you in class tomorrow.